Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and this is my review for Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Let's go. Project Hail Mary is a science fiction novel. I don't want to spoil too much, so I'm going to be careful here. But basically, we wake up with Ryland Grace. He's in this coma state and kind of coming out of it. He's got memory loss, and there's a computer that's monitoring his every move. This book is science fiction, and spoiler alert on my review, but it is one of the best sci-fi books that I've read in a long time. In this review, I'm going to be going through some of my observations of the novel. I'll be starting with some of my favorite things about it, and then going down through the list until I get to a couple things that I didn't like as much about this book. At the end, I'll give my recommendation. Who should buy this book? Who is it written for? To start with, Project Hail Mary is science fiction. Sometimes the science fiction and fantasy genres get kind of blended together, and sometimes you end up with a space opera, but there's really no science in it. This is a science fiction novel. So if you don't like science at all, it's not going to appeal to you. But if you're even a little bit into science, physics in particular, if you're kind of into physics and some with biology, you are going to love this book. You don't have to have like a huge grasp of science. It doesn't have to be your living and breathing thing. I haven't taken a science class since my freshman year of college, but I loved this book because the science in it was really sciencey, really well done. I'll also say the book is written really well. So I picked it up the first day in the evening, and I had to put it down because I need to go to bed. I have kind of a strict bedtime, but I put the book down, and I didn't get a chance to pick it up again until like midway through the next day. And all day long, I was thinking about the book, even though I only read about an hour and a half of it the night before. It's a really well-written book, and it really kind of engages you and brings you in. And so I really appreciated the book just for how enjoyable of a read it was. And kind of in that same grain, it was well-written. And that's, I think, you kind of hear how it's written. It's written from the point of view of the main character, Ryland Grace, but he's like talking to himself the whole time. He's kind of by himself. You kind of have this, going back in time and finding out his memories. Like I said, he's kind of got a memory issue. He's going back in time, finding out his issues, finding out his memories, and then coming back to the present again. It sounds lame, but it was really well done and very engaging. The very beginning part is all kind of this mystery. We're trying to figure things out, and it just remains and maintains that engagingness throughout the entire book. I also think that the science writing, sometimes that gets heavy in a science fiction book where it's very science heavy, but the way that he's written it is actually really entertaining the entire time. Like I said, even if you're not a huge science nerd and you just enjoy science a little bit, I think you're going to find this one really good because the writing is done well enough that the science doesn't feel it's not overdone. It's really well done. A couple things I didn't like about it as much. Some of the ways that Ryland meta thinks don't feel realistic to me. These are minor things. Like I said, I really enjoyed this book, but he kind of thinks about things in a way that at least I don't think about it that way. It doesn't feel realistic to me. And so he's meta thinking, I think, for the purpose of the reader to be able to kind of keep up with him and understand what's going on. Either it was done that way because other people think very differently than me, which is totally possible, or the author's written him this way so that way the reader can kind of keep up. Either way, sometimes I was meta thinking about his meta thinking, and it took me out of the story a little bit. The other thing I didn't love, and this is also just an unrealistic thing, but it seems like the author, and this is again a minor point, but the author didn't have a great understanding of how inter-country agencies might work together. It really seemed unrealistic to me. And this is one of those places with, you suspend your understandable deniability or whatever, just so you can kind of keep up with the story. And so it wasn't a distraction from the story, but it was something that takes a big enough place as a plot hole that you go, that there are some plot holes in this that just don't seem great. Those two things are so minor that I really feel like this book was well written though. I enjoyed it almost the entire way through. And this is one of the better sci-fi novels I think I've ever read as far as having really good sci-fi, being readable, and just a really enjoyable read overall. Before I give a recommendation for this book, I just want to point to the description box below where I put a link to this book on Amazon. If you click on that link and you buy it there, it really supports our channel. Now, for a recommendation, I recommend this book for anyone who likes science fiction, like real science fiction. If you like your science fiction really sciencey, you're gonna love this book because it is very sciencey. It's well written, it's interesting. If you've read some of his other books, I've seen that some people said that this book is similar to The Martian in a lot of ways and not like Artemis, which is something that people worry about. I haven't read his other books, but just so you know, it's well written. It's a very good book. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, one of the better books that I've read recently in the sci-fi genre. If you don't like science, if you're like, I can't be bothered with science at all, this book probably is not for you. So that's been my review of Project Hail Mary. If you've enjoyed this review, please feel free to like and subscribe and check out that description box below where we have the links to this book. Thanks again for watching, guys, and as always, stay safe out there.